Hi there. In this video, I would like to show you how to unknit a series of increases and decreases. So I have the first few stitches that are just plain knit stitches. So I'm just going to unknit these. I think I have about 5 here. And the very first stitch I come to is a decrease, and this is a simple knit 2 together, which is a right leaning decrease. And all I do is just go in those 2 stitches front to back, just like you would a single stitch, and then pop that working yarn out. Okay. And then I'm going to decrease that stitch. That's just a simple knit stitch. And here I have an SSK, and that is a left leaning decrease. Can you see that right there? That leans to the left. And this takes a couple steps here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in both of these loops where this yarn inserts. If you have a little trouble seeing where the yarn inserts, turn the work over and sort of move that loop and working yarn, and you can see what you want to do is make sure your stitch comes through where that yarn and this loop on the needle is coming through. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that working yarn out, and now I have to reorient my stitches. Since we slip knitwise for an SSK, we need to slip these back and orient them so that the front leg is facing forward. So I just take each stitch one at a time and then turn them around. Then I have my knit stitch. And now, if you can look here, you'll see 3 stitches going into one. Okay, so I have 1 stitch here that goes into a stitch, 1 line of stitch here, and then I have another one right here. So you can see 3 going into 1. So for a knit 3 together, I'm going to do just what I did for the knit 2 together. I'm going to go in front to back, but this time I'm going to go through 3 loops. Okay, so front to back, and then I'm just going to pull that working yarn out, and there are my 3 stitches. I'm going to go 1 more, just a simple knit stitch, and the next decrease I have is an SK2P. That's a slip, knit 2 together, and pass the slip stitch over. And you can see this stitch here that was passed over. And what I'm going to do first is put that stitch back. I'm going to unpass it. So I'm going to put that back on my needle, and I'm going to straighten them out here like that. And then I've got these other 2 stitches. This is a 2-stitch decrease. Okay, so I'm going to go back behind these 2 stitches here, front to back, pop out the working yarn, and then I'm going to take this stitch on the right needle and slip it back. It's twisted, it's not oriented correctly. So I'm just going to go in the front loop like this and twist it back and then place it on my needle. Now this stitch is a knit stitch, and the next decrease I have is another 2-stitch decrease, and this is a central decrease. It doesn't lean in either direction, but it is 3 stitches. So if you look, you can see, let me get my pointer here, you can see we have 1 stitch here that inserts, 1 stitch here, and a third stitch right here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go in the back, and I'm going to insert through these 3 stitches here, pop the working yarn out, and then these stitches are not only twisted, they are they have moved places. So they have rotated their place in the line of knitting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 2 off. I'm going to squeeze at the bottom so I don't lose them. And then I'm going to just let them unfurl. And then I'm going to place them back on the needle. And this stitch right here, that's not oriented correctly, so I'm going to just go through the back loop and flip it around and get this oriented correctly and slip that one back on, and now I am good. Okay, so now I've got some increases here. This is just a simple knit stitch. I'm going to unknit that one, and if you look closely, you can see this is a knit front and back. Okay, so this is an increase out of 1 stitch. Okay, so we have, this is what I call the mother stitch, and this is the little baby that has come off of it. So all you do for the knit front and back, slip off that little baby part, pull, and you're back. So I'm going to go ahead and unknit that stitch. And the next stitch that I have is a yarn over. See that right there? So I'm going to unknit this stitch, just a regular stitch, and this yarn over will just come off by itself. I'm just going to put it to the back. Okay, and this is just a regular knit stitch. Pop that off. And what we have next are a make one right and a make one left stitch. So we have, let me get this a little closer. This is a make one right, slants to the right, and this is a make one left. And these are made by pulling up the strand in between and then knitting that. So all you have to do is just pop it off the needle, and when you pull the working yarn out, okay, the stitch disappears and the strand in the middle is free. So I'm going to get this stitch, and then I have a make one right, and if you can see how it's made from the strand in between, same thing, I'm just going to pop it off and then release it, and then I am at the end. So there you have it. Those are your main increases and decreases.